What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 1 of season 1 of Solo Leveling. We're going to be going full spoilers ahead, so hopefully you've watched this first episode. And yeah, you originally said this was based off of what's called a manhwa, Korean thing. Well, it's
Korean
definitely
comic, yeah.
definitely Korean with all the names in this. And so we have not read that, so we're coming at this straight up uninformed. At least I am going into it without knowing anything about this. And so we'll do a real quick recap. Pretty straightforward premise. I mean, it starts out with what we now know as hunters fighting a bunch of ants on an island, and a bunch of low ranks getting slaughtered, a bunch of S ranks showing up. I think they're S ranks.
Yes.
And taking care of the situation, basically giving us a little intro on how combat is and what the setting is, swords, magic, stuff like that, which is really interesting. We just watched Delicious in Dungeon. Check out our review of episode 2. But kind of a similar premise here with like the raiding and dungeons and fighting things. We'll get into it.
It's actually a lot of fantasy animes right now.
A lot of fantasy, which is really interesting. So we get some exposition, some basically what the world is, and a bunch of portals have showed up in the real world, and magic monsters or beasts, or whatever they called them, are coming out. And so there are people who are imbued with magic that has been awakened, called hunters. They are ranked S down to E, and one of the things that's interesting about it is when you are ranked, your magic power, no matter how much you do anything, does not go up. You're locked into that rank, basically. I'm sure something will happen that will negate that, but we'll see as we watch the show. We are introduced to a character named Sung, who is a rank E, hang out with rank Ds, right?
Yes.
And he's kind of an underdog. He's been injured in prior raids. They go on raids. You guys watch the episodes, so you know. But they go on raids into portals, basically doing dungeon raids, like in a MMO, which is interesting. And they're getting ready to go in one now. Sung is already injured from prior raids. He has a knife, little cheap knife that he can only afford. And he has a friend. I don't remember any of the names other than Sung. I just made sure I could remember his fucking name. Pretty simple. But he has a friend who's like a magic user, healer type chick who's, kind of concerned about him. He's concerned about himself. He seems pretty not confident. And they go on a raid. We kind of get a taste of that. They're fighting things. He's not doing very well. He ends up getting stabbed in the stomach. He has to be healed by his friend. We also get a couple scenes with some government type people talking about essence stones, which are in these portals, these dungeons, that they are hoping to harness the energy out of them to use for like power, electricity, infinite power, stuff like that. So there's almost like a business incentive on, what these people are doing in their raids anyway. Although we do hear from people on this raid that they are in there looking for loot as well. So basically they're playing Diablo, which is
they're trying to get the essence and magic stones to sell to the government, basically.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because it seems like a lot of, like, especially at this rank, normal people, which is a really interesting premise. So they end up clearing the dungeon, with Sung basically having to sit back while he's being healed. They're able to do it. He's got a lot of self-doubt going on because he was already kind of worried about how going in here he wasn't going to be that helpful, but he's going anyway. He got injured. They cleared the dungeon basically without his help, and they end up discovering that there is an extension to the dungeon. It's a double dungeon, and they don't really know what to do here. There's a procedure of waiting on somebody else to kind of figure out what you're supposed to do in the situation, but they decide to move on forward, leaving it to a vote. Sung is the last person who has to decide on the vote, and he decides they should go in without communicating with anybody because he has a sister that he's taking care of, and she's trying to go to college. He's trying to help her do that. So there's a lot of pressure on him to do this. So they go into the extended part of the dungeon. It takes them like 40 minutes to get to a door. They open the door. They enter a room full of old statues and stuff like that. They see some scripture on a stone tablet. They're checking that out, and while they're doing that, Sung's friend, who's the healer, notices that the eyes of statue are moving, and things start getting kind of crazy. One dude goes for the door. He ends up getting obliterated by a statue. It just slices him, kills him instantly. Everybody's freaking out. Basically, because this doesn't seem like the D dungeon that they thought they were getting into. And then the statue that was looking around that the healer chick saw ends up shooting a laser, just eviscerating one dude. We get a quick glimpse of him just poof, gone. It leaves a huge, like, melted ray chunk out of the ground. And at this point, everybody is in a panic, and Sung seems like he's pretty sure that they're all trapped and they're going to die, and the episode ends there. So, yeah, basically, the episode is hunters go on raids, and this raid didn't go very well for this group of people.
And a quick blip of an S rank getting someone's purse back.
Oh, yeah, I completely skipped that. There's a quick little blip after it was discussed that they're basically scouting for more hunters, and they're training them or whatever
To do with the classes.
that they're looking for, regardless of gender or age. Anybody who's just has abilities worthwhile to recruit them, basically. And after that's mentioned, some dudes steal a purse. This blonde chick is able to flip over the vehicle they're driving, steal it back, or take it back. They end up crashing. She gives it back and then is able to just jump away, and everybody's wowed by it. So a little hint of somebody who's definitely more powerful than Sung. So I think that's everything for the most part. What do we think?
So yeah, went into the show completely blind and ignorant. All I know is that looking at what was coming out this season, it was definitely the most talked about one. So
I don't even follow like the seasons, and I kept hearing about this. So I was like, you brought up like, should we watch that? I'm like, I feel like we kind of have to, because it's like the anime of this season, it seems like.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, first impressions are better than I was expecting, because I don't think the trailers did it very good justice, because the trailers really made it come off very generic, and
Yeah.
I do think it is more than that.
It was better than the trailers seemed
Yeah,
to me, for sure.
And the animation and art style make a little more sense to me now that I know it's A1 who's doing it. They kind of have a look anyways, and this is very reminiscent of that for me.
The art style is okay, but I thought the animation was pretty decent.
Yeah. The Nier anime was also A1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they stay away from the CGI.
Very experimented with right now in the anime industry.
Because
But
the
yeah,
CGI from the Nier anime was really bad.
it was bad, yeah. Yeah. So I kind of like the idea, because it has a lot of like standard things you see in a lot of like fantasy / isekai animes anyways, which, it's dungeon crawls, fantasy setting, or I guess a modern world and going with fantasy elements, stuff like that. But the curveball being the people having innate magical ability or magical energy, I guess, but that not being able to change is kind of an interesting take on that, I think. I am curious how we're going to get around that, because there's no way the main character is just going to be a pinata for the whole show. That'd be really boring. So, or be torture porn.
Everybody in this room is going to get murdered except for him. Maybe
He is, and he's going to get reborn or something.
Yeah, and something's going to happen where he's going to be able to be more powerful. He's going to supersede maybe he's the only one who can get past E, and everybody's going to be like, oh, he's solo leveling.
Hopefully they don't say that, but that situation does sound plausible for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any attachment to any characters yet, because first off, they threw a bunch at us, and I have a feeling they're not sticking around, which I do feel kind of bad for the healer, because she didn't want to be there, and we probably got more of her than basically anyone else.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm a little more attached to her than even like the main guy, because the main guy has basically gone, I'm broke, I need money, and I don't care about getting stabbed in the stomach for it.
Yeah,
So-
he kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's by design. That's
For
why I
sure, for
assumed,
sure.
yeah. Because I was like, he sucks too much.
Yeah.
Man. Like this guy just like is not cool at all.
So I'm definitely very interested to see like how his growth is going to be, because that could definitely like make or break the show, because a boring main character is going to kill it for me. Like,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually and I won't talk about too much because you guys just watched that, but when we're talking about Delicious in Dungeon, there is a character that I'm like, this dude should hopefully gets better, because he's not that interesting. And the same thing here with this guy. Like, it's the first episode.
Yeah.
So
So
obviously something's gonna happen.
yeah, though fortunately with that show, they're all the main character.
Yeah.
Versus like, it's pretty obvious this guy's supposed to be the main character.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the world's interesting. I like the idea that portals started opening up. They learned conventional weapons don't work, and so it kind of gives a reason for people to use melee weapons and magic and stuff like that in a world where guns and stuff exist.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about, because in the beginning it just showed ships. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so at least it's like 1940 or past. And then obviously there's ships before that, but
Right.
they could have been from any time really. But then it's a bunch of dudes with swords. I'm like, is it like a video game that they're playing? I don't get it. But yeah, that once it explained that, I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense.
And then the show's not afraid to be gory / dismember people. So
Yeah, I was surprised. That's gory.
that it's fine by me. I enjoy a little bit of violence. So so yeah, I'm definitely more curious now, or interested now than I was going into it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Hopefully, give it at the very least a 3-episode treatment. I think myself, and see if I like it after that. So
Yeah. Yeah, going into this completely blind, I was actually kind of relieved at the beginning when it explained the story of the world. I was like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay. That's a little basic. It's a little straightforward. You're kind of just handing me all the information I need, but at the same time, we can get past the building of that and just get to the story, and
Yeah.
so that's okay. Like, as long as it's good, I won't care. But yeah, it's like, okay, hunters. Josh had, like, nobody watching this probably knows who Josh is, but Josh had this idea for a story that is kind of similar to this. I feel like they might have ripped him off, but yeah, because he was talking about a story he wanted to write. But anyway, kind of reminds me of that. Bunch of people just kind of become powerful and they go on dungeon raids. I mean, it sounds like any video game I've played. But
average Joe schmoes who should be working in like mines or something like that all of a sudden get weapons and go kill
Yeah.
monsters.
yeah, so yeah, a simple premise. The combat in the beginning was interesting. It wasn't boring to watch. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't like Demon
No.
Slayer or JJK, but it wasn't bad either. Like, it was cool. And yeah, they're willing to kill people off and score and stuff like that. So it feels like, oh shit, people can die. It's not just like every time a fight happens, they're gonna be like, okay, you're pretty good, and they stop fighting. Like, people are getting murdered. So it's also kind of neat to see that people can be healed if it's not fatal instantly. Like, Sun got stabbed in a place that could have fucked him up pretty bad, but didn't kill him instantly like the guy at the door. So it was able to get healed. It's a whole process. So I kind of like that there's ways to heal people, but also there's still like the stakes of people can get killed.
We also saw the difference between an S rank and a D rank healer too, and that's
Yep.
pretty drastic. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Because she had to work on him for a while.
first the other guy put goo everywhere and everyone was fine.
Yeah. So yeah, that is a good point. It's a good contrast to kind of show the difference between the ranks. I also think the scenario that they just go on raids is kind of interesting, because it kind of sets it up for, like, I'm sure there'll be a big, more grand story that they'll tell, but it's kind of an interesting premise to have, like, near infinite scenarios where people can just go into dungeons and whatever they need to happen there can happen. So we'll see where it goes from here. Unless we never see a dungeon again after this, I don't know. But
I also think it's funny if they're basically just clocking in.
yeah, it just seemed like a bunch of people going to work. They're just wearing normal clothes and just grabbing some fucking weapons and going in and fighting goblins.
My
like
dollar store knife.
It's a really, really interesting premise that's just like so transparent and honest in what it's portraying that I'm just like, all right. I mean, if you're offering this, make it good. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So yeah, I I think the first episode was like interesting enough. I'm not like in love with it, but I don't know where it goes. But I do. At first, my first thought was like, this is a little simplistic, but at the same time, I kind of appreciate that. And so we got an episode where, they go on a raid, they're fighting things, and then people are getting murdered off, and we'll see what that is a catalyst for in the next episode. Because obviously something's going to come from that. But it was an interesting first episode that got me interested to see the next one. So. Yeah, definitely going to watch the next episode, see what happens, see where it goes. Hopefully, Sung will become a more compelling character. It's only first episode, so I don't expect much from it. But as of right now, I think he's kind of weak.
Annoyingly so.
Yeah, and he's like really lacking confidence, but that'll change. It'll change. I'm kind of curious about the other characters that will show up. Obviously, we're getting little hints of these S-rank people, and we saw the people getting recruited. So that means, there's luckily a flow of more people coming in as people are getting murdered off. And
also potential, for like scheming and stuff like that at that point. Because do they work with the government? Do they not? Are they independent?
Yeah, we got a little taste of there's people who have other things they're thinking about in terms of these operations. It's an interesting, simple premise, but I think the biggest thing I took away from this whole thing is there's an interesting potential here. Mm-hmm. So I want to see where they take it. But it's a good introduction episode to go in blind and just kind of go, that's good enough. We'll see what happens next. So, anything else you want to say? All right, let us know in the comments what did you guys think of this first episode of Solo Leveling. Are you going into this having read the original source material? Are you watching it blind like us? If you do know anything, please don't tell us. And what did you think of the episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And what were the big highlights for you? Anything that we might have missed or didn't talk about that you want to talk about? Let us know in the comments. And what did you think of the animation? What did you think of the characters? What do you think about Sung? What do you think is going to happen if you don't know? And stay tuned. We got more reviews coming. We just did Delicious in Dungeon episode 2. We just finally did our JJK finale and season 2 review. Check that out if you're curious what we thought of that. And we are going to check out
Metallic Rouge.
And
maybe Buchigiri.
We're going to sample some animes and see which ones we want to stick with in terms of doing regular reviews. I've been Seth, this been Chevy, and until the next review, we will talk to you guys later.